Revenge films.
My name is Kelly Morrison. I'm 24 years old and I'm a little bit shy and introverted. Ever since I was a little girl, I have loved drawing, and right now I'm living my dream working as an illustrator. I have a fiancé named Kevin that I met through my job as an illustrator, and my life was pretty steady. However, there was just one concern that I had, and that was this. I lived at home with my family. One day, when I was working remote from my own room, my mom aggressively slammed the door open.
"Hey, Kelly, look at you, lazing about all day at home again, doing nothing to help the family."
My mom was yelling at me, but perhaps she couldn't see that I was sitting in front of the computer doing my illustrations, which was my full-time job.
"Look at you just doodling like that and messing around. Stop doing that, and you need to get a proper job."
Mom, I'm pretty sure I've explained this to you multiple times already, but this is my job. I'm working full-time.
Listen, that's not what a job is. A job is something where you go to a company and you put on a suit and you do real work. That's exactly what your father did, and that's what your big sister is doing too, isn't it?
I had a big sister named Rachel, and my mom loved Rachel, who was really good at putting on a good face. It's probably because Rachel was quite similar to her, how she was wild with her spending habits and how she was outgoing and had a lot of friends. Because I only had one sibling, my sister Rachel, there was quite a big difference in the way that my mother treated us.
"I've been tolerating this for a year now, ever since your dad passed away. Hurry up and find a job or find a family to marry into and make yourself useful."
My father passed away 1 year ago. As for Rachel, she got married 2 years ago, and she moved out of the family house. So right now, I was living at the family home with just my mother. After yelling at me like this, my mother was about to leave my room when she turned around and gave me this order.
"Oh, that reminds me. I want Western food for lunch today. Recently, all you make at home is Japanese food, and I'm getting pretty tired of it. And also, make sure you clean up the guest room. You better stop slacking just because we haven't had any guests recently. Either way, you're unemployed anyway, so you have more than enough time on your hands, right?"
My mom barked at me, and then she disappeared from my room. Despite working full-time as an illustrator from home, I was doing all of the chores and taking care of everything in the house. And it wasn't just that. It's almost time to make the monthly payment for this home. This really gives me a headache. Dad's debt is too much. That's right, the debt that my father wasn't able to pay back while he was still alive was left to me. And I was paying it back little by little. But luckily, my work was quite steady, and if push comes to shove, I know that my fiancé Kevin would support me. I wasn't that worried financially, but it was a problem that would give me a headache every month because I would have to make a pretty expensive payment. And if my mom could at least be grateful that this was the life I was living every day, doing my best to support her, that would have been fine, but...
"What the hell is this lazy lunch? I bet you just bought this meatloaf at the shops and you heated it up and that's all you did. And the salad you made is just cabbage. There is a limit to just how lazy one can be. I am letting you stay in this house when you're not even working. You should be grateful and make a proper meal when you have so much time on your hands."
It wasn't just that my mom was complaining a lot about this lunch in particular. My mom was actually like this every day, about everything. Up until this age, she had always been a full-time housewife, and she had also never had to worry about managing any finances. To put it nicely, you could say that she was a princess who married into a good family. However, if you say it more honestly, she's actually a complaining brat who doesn't know how the world works.
"Why don't you just get an arranged marriage already? You're unemployed and you need to get out of this house as soon as possible."
I told you this before, but I am working as a designer, and I am engaged to somebody that I met online, and we've been dating for a long time now, and...
"Oh, shut up. I can't believe you met somebody online through your doodling. When you don't even know their face, you can't trust them at all. Don't be stupid. You need to look at reality."
And as usual, she cut off the conversation, one-sided, and refused to listen to me. Normally this would be the end of the conversation, but today was different.
"This weekend your sister and your brother-in-law are coming home, so you better be home. There's an important conversation that we're going to have."
It was rare for my sister and her husband to come visit the family house. Rachel would always say things like, "Oh, come on, Kelly, you're unemployed, so the least you can do is take care of Mom, but I'm not going to give you any help whatsoever." And after she would say that, it was true. She really didn't do anything to help take care of our mom. And then that weekend, my big sister and her husband came to the family house. I had spent the whole afternoon cleaning, and my sister, my brother-in-law, and my mom sat down on the couch, while I had to sit on the floor, and they all sat there looking down at me.
So, do you know what conversation we're about to have?
My mom said that with a grin on her face. No, I don't know. I answered honestly. That's because I really didn't have a clue.
I warned you many times, didn't I, that I'm not going to let a lazy, bored parasite stay in this house, and that I've been tolerating it for a year now.
Like I said, that is, I tried to tell my mom that it was her misunderstanding. It's not like I was lazy or bored. I was actually paying back my dad's debt as well as providing for all of my mother's living expenses.
You need to stop with the excuses. You've always just been holed up in your room like a little worm. You know what they call you, an unemployed loser.
My big sister chimed in. My brother-in-law was sitting there in silence, trying hard to hold in his laughter as he was watching our family commotion.
Well then, you understand what I'm trying to say, right? You need to leave this house effective immediately.
My mom continued on with what my sister had started to say. Huh? But why? I was shocked, but then my mother remained calm and said,
What do you mean, why? You should know that reason better than anybody. I have an eldest daughter who is married and a second daughter who doesn't work and is unmarried. Isn't it obvious? I don't need to say it out loud. It's clear who should be at home here at the family house.
No, I don't understand at all. My sister was reckless with her money spending, and I don't hear any good rumors about my brother-in-law either. And I don't think that those two would be able to come to this house that was full of debt and even look after my mother. Honestly, this is what my mom said.
This has already been decided, and you don't have any right to say anything back to us.
That's right, so you can just leave everything to me as the eldest daughter of the family, and you can just hurry up and gather up your belongings and get out of this house. My sister added on to that, and then my brother-in-law finally spoke.
This is a nice house, isn't it? It's still pretty new, and it's so clean.
And as if he was trying to place value on it, he was looking around the room and admiring the house that I had just cleaned. Looking at the three of them, I felt something snap inside of me. Well then, is that so? Either way, I was planning on moving out of this house once I got married to my fiancé, but I didn't think that after I had worked so hard to look after my mother and I was paying off the family debt for them, that they would kick me out so harshly like this. I knew my family, but I didn't think that they were this terrible. I'm going to be taking this house, so you can get out now, and Mom has already agreed, so this house is all mine now. What? Are you sure? Since she was saying the house is all hers, that would also include the extremely high debt. Because I had been paying it back, it had gone down a couple $1,000s, but even still, there were tens of thousands of dollars left, so I decided to hurry up and get up and leave.
My goodness, how pathetic. I can't believe I have a daughter like this.
Mom, don't worry. From now on, my husband and I are going to look after you. Everything's going to be so much better. I could hear that my family was saying this on purpose, and it was so stupid that I was over it from the bottom of my heart. I was suddenly kicked out of my house by my mother and sister, but I immediately moved out and moved in with my fiancé in his apartment. Unlike my mother, who was always complaining about my cooking, Kevin was really kind. It had been a long time since I was able to relax like this, and I was truly happy. I was fully enjoying the freedom in my newfound life, but then about 1 month later, out of nowhere, I received a phone call from my sister.
Hey, you! What the hell is this? What is this debt? It's an insane amount, too. That idiot dad. How many places was he borrowing money from?
You're only just now realizing this?
This debt is fake, isn't it? Otherwise, there's no way that an unemployed loser like you would have been able to survive and live here with Mom.
No, obviously it's real. And if you don't pay back that debt, you're going to get kicked out of that house as well. I've been paying back that debt every month up until now, but I'm pretty sure there's about $80,000 left on it, right?
What do you mean? You're an unemployed loser. How on earth were you able to pay off such a large amount of money every month?
I explained this to you and Mom multiple times, but I work remotely. I'm a full-time illustrator, and that's how I met my fiancé as well, and we're planning on getting married soon. I could tell my sister was at a loss for words, so I continued on. Plus, I already know that you were struggling for money because you are so reckless with your spending. And that's why you were trying to go after the inheritance. If you moved back home, you wouldn't have to pay rent anymore. And if you make Mom do all the chores, then you would kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or maybe even 3 birds. But either way, looks like you miscalculated and don't even have the stone to begin with. The only thing that's there at that house is a debt, and also Mom, who's only getting older.
Are you kidding me? You need to pay off this debt.
What? But why? You're the one who said you were going to look after Mom and take the house, as the eldest daughter of the family, right? And plus, you're the one that declared that everything in that house is all yours, which means that includes the debt, doesn't it?
Ugh!
You quit your job when you got married, so you're not working right now anyway, right? So why don't you start working along with your husband, and if you also do your best with the chores, I'm sure you'll barely be able to get by. I mean, you still have the house, and you don't have to pay rent.
Even if I don't have to pay rent, there's the monthly payments on the loan. At this rate, my plan is completely ruined. If I didn't come back to this house, then I wouldn't be losing so much money.
My ears were ringing, so I just said goodbye and I hung up the phone. But a few days later, my mom and my sister and her husband barged into my apartment.
You're welcome. I'm going to do you a favor and let you come back to the house. You should be happy. That's right. I'm sure you're happy to be able to live with Mom, aren't you?
My mom and sister tried to say this, but I simply replied, nope, not at all, and plus I have no intention of going back. That was all I said, and I kicked them out. A few months later, in the end, my mom, sister, and her husband weren't able to pay off the debt, and they had to give up the family house. However, that wasn't enough to pay off all of the loans. They had to move into a rundown apartment, and I heard that everybody is having to work multiple jobs in order to pay back the debt.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.